All right. Welcome to the Crush Core Real Estate Hour. Hope you guys are having a good day today. Douglas, how are you?
Doing great, man.
Douglas is our CEO, founder of Crush Core Realty and a few of our other companies here. So we're happy to have him. Last week's podcast, we spoke about, I do this every time. I forget the topic that we talk about. What did we talk about last week?
About how to make your offers competitive and how to make your houses sell.
I don't know why that
quickly.
I forgot it, because I've gotten several. I had an email right before the show talking about hard money and how is that considered. It's a loan, but it's not cash, but it's looked at more favorably. So that's good. People are listening to the topics that are relevant to them, and making offers is one of them. So if you want to check that out, go to Spotify, the Facebook page, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, and you can check out last week's or 2 weeks ago's episode on how to make your offer more competitive. Today, we're going to talk about the Brrr Strategy. Big celebration for Brrr. Everybody loves the Brrr. It's been a hot topic. If you're listening now, you've probably called in or you've asked me what the Brrr is and how to do it or steps through it. Today, we're just going to take a light cruise through the Brrr process, kind of talk about why we like it, maybe if there's reasons why we don't, or and talk about all the steps through it. So Brrr, the Brrr Strategy, I guess to coin the phrase Brrr was a bigger pockets.
Seems like it. Yes, I believe so. I've never gone back and researched it.
No,
who
that's where I
was
started
the
hearing
one?
it.
But that's where everybody started hearing it. Because 10 years ago, it wasn't Brrr. Delayed financing, just buy and refinance. It wasn't.
We even called it the Turnkey Alternative
Turnkey
program.
Alternative,
Yeah.
different names.
Yeah.
But Brrr kind of buy,
Yep. Go ahead.
rehab,
Yep.
rent, refinance, repeat.
That's exactly right.
RR.
That's it.
Yes.
And
Brrr.
it's been a Brrr. Yeah, it's a little Brrr.
Kind of appropriate.
This morning. So the Brrr Strategy, I have used it over 20 times. You've probably used it 10 times that amount.
Yep.
I have clients that use it every month. It's a very good way to scale, and it's a very good way to have control over your properties. In my opinion, more than someone else just buying a regular house that's occupied. So let's talk about it. What does the Brrr Strategy stand for? We just went through that. What is the strategy? Why is it so popular? So one of the main reasons why I think it's popular is because if you have limited funds, cash, you can do this loan, you can do this strategy as many times as you can handle it, and you can scale up to as many homes as I guess the bank will finance you at the end of the day. So, to me, I'll give a quick example, and then I'll let you kind of speak on why you love it. I bought my first 10 properties occupied and cash flowing. For me personally, that wasn't the route to do it. I was getting maintenance calls, and when it would go vacant, I'd have a turn, rehab. So I didn't enjoy that way. It was a little more cash out of my pocket that I wanted to do. I went to my bank and got a line of credit. Okay. The line of credit at the bank allowed me to buy the property with cash, rehab it with the bank's money, and then when I was finished, I would turn around and refinance it out with that same bank.
Okay.
And I already had my 20% equity, so I didn't have any money out of my pocket. I would run it through the 20-year, 15-year program, whatever I was running it through, and reset that line of credit and repeat that process. That, to me, gave me one of two things. I could move quicker.
Yes.
I could buy more. No real cash out of my pocket. The next biggest thing for me was the condition of the home. That was the biggest, because that was what was punching me in the face the first few times. Is like, I'm rehabbing it. I know what's going on, and I'm more confident in that process. And then to be able just to get it to property management, not have the headaches and the pain of maintenance and that sort of thing for the first 6 to 12 months or whatever it is it was the benefits for me. And I found that I had less maintenance and more control over that process. What about you? I assume it's the same thing, right?
Yeah, but I've got maybe some others. There's some other side of the flip side of the same coin.
Yeah.
So you hit it, little or no money down. That is huge. Sweat equity or immediate equity. Like, to me, that is something that is kind of glossed over.
And I just did it.
You just glossed over, you've got 20%, 25% equity in this deal versus a turnkey that you're paying 100
market.
cents on the dollar, or maybe 105 cents on the dollar. So here we're talking about you're in this property for 75 cents on the dollar. So you've got some real equity.
Yep.
Which is, again, maybe that's the little or no money down, but you've got some real equity in there. I would say even more than, because you could be in it a dollar, 100 cents on the dollar with no money down, but here you're probably in it for 80 cents on the dollar. So you've got some real equity. So there's some value to that.
Yeah.
I also like it in a worst case scenario, because life happens. Mm-hmm. If you sell it, you're not losing money.
Yeah.
If you're paying 105 cents on the dollar, you're gonna lose money if life happens and you have to sell it. So that's a real value to me in that. Also, I like it for a lot of people we deal with. It scratches the do-it-yourself itch, the DIY, because some people want that turnkey, but some people want to roll up their sleeves and be involved. In the Brrr strategy is how you build a team, you get an agent, you get a bank, you get a contractor, a property manager. Yeah. And so you're kind of pulling a little more of the levers than you do with just a turnkey. And some people really want to be involved. So to me, those are some of the things. Little or the most important being little or no money down, and just that equity that you've earned that because you've sweated and put the deal together some way, somehow. And if you were in a pickle, you could sell it and not lose your shirt day one.
I have always used the phrase, you're buying someone's equity, you're buying someone's profit if you use a turnkey property. That's what I've. And
who do you think? Time out. I got a lot of good turnkey friends, but who do you think is getting rich on the turnkey model?
Turnkey providers.
100%.
Yeah. And they do a good job.
They
earn
their profit.
They
earn their profit. Yes.
But at the same time, if you're looking for something a little more aggressive, a little bit better numbers, and a little more hands-on, this is
if you want equity. Again, it gets into the person that's willing to just pay over what it's worth just to have that, versus somebody who wants to put in the sweat and have the equity for that.
And what we mean by sweat too is like not actually showing up at the property.
No.
I mean, just coordinating between myself and our contractors and property management when it's completed and that sort of thing. I mean, we don't actually mean, swinging the hammer on the house.
And this is, as I stepped back and thought about Brrr, it's like, it's the exact same thing as fix and flip.
The identical.
You're finding an undervalued property and you're bringing some fix. So you're bringing some fix to the flip, but instead of the flip, you're refinancing and holding it instead of selling it, and you're getting that equity. Yeah. And again, most fix and flippers aren't swinging hammers. They're orchestrating, finding the deal, finding the money, finding the contractors, finding the agent to help them dispose or list it or sell it. So it's the same as a fix and flip, or another kind of more sophisticated term, a value add. That's the value add. I
love our terms.
That's what it is. It's Brrr. It's value add. It's fix and flip, except that you're holding it. So it's providing on. If you want to go back to economics textbook, it's called entrepreneurial profit.
Yes.
The entrepreneur is the one with the idea, who's taking the risk, who's putting the puzzle, bringing the resources together to a higher and better use.
And you're rewarded at the end.
And you're rewarded at the end. That is 100% what you're doing. I
haven't heard to the highest and best use in a long time. That's an old real estate term.
Yes, appraisal term and economic term. That's exactly what you're doing with the Brrr. And you're getting to capture that equity versus giving. And hey, the turnkey providers are doing the same thing. They're finding a distressed property, they're adding the value, they're finding the end buyer, and they're capturing the profit themselves.
Yes.
Which is, they're entitled to do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of DIYers and real estate investors who want to earn that sweat equity, Brrr is the method for them.
That's exactly right. And to me, it's the best way. That's an opinion.
If you want to make money, do you want to pay the turnkey guy to get rich, or do you want to get rich yourself by doing the Brrr method?
I even prefer this over the occupied and cash flowing property, unless you're getting into that 250 and up range where it's a really nice house anyway. But if you're in that 130, 40, 50, 180 range, whatever, I prefer even to Brrr there, because even then you know more about the home.
Yeah.
The person that moves out, I prefer that Brrr strategy. It just gives you way more control. And now they're harder to find.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I can hand you 10 houses that are occupied and cash flowing in our markets right now the Brrr Strategy properties are harder to find because of what we said. Turnkey providers are looking for those too.
Yes.
And they're looking to sell them to you. So we're all kind of competing over some of the same houses. But let me ask this: what is during the Brrr Strategy? What might be the toughest part? What do most people struggle with? What causes the headache? Because and before you answer that, when somebody asks me about doing an out-of-state Brrr, I'll make sure I got this out. When somebody calls, they're saying, "Hey, Dean, I want a Brrr, but I'm scared." My advice is to never start with it.
Okay.
And here's the reason why: 20% of the time on a Brrr, something's going to go a little wrong.
Sure.
You're either going to have more rehab than what you thought. The appraisal's not going to come in where you want it. The bank rate might not be exactly what you wanted, or something along those lines. There's
doesn't
something
rent as quick or as high.
There's something that's going to happen 20% of the time. Now, that's not that 20% is not a complete failure.
No,
you just need to regroup and kind of and adjust and move on. 80% of the time on the Brrr, things are going to happen just right. You're going to get your money back. It's going to rent for what it is. Our contractors are going to do a great job 80% of the time. If you come into real estate in Memphis and you do a Brrr first and you hit that 20%, you might be out of real estate altogether.
Yeah.
You might think, this is too much of a pain, in the rear end, or I don't want to do this. But if you come in and you say, hey, I'm going to buy some occupied and cash flowing homes at a little bit higher rate, my return's not as good, solid home, mailbox money essentially is what people say.
Yep.
You get a couple of those. Then we try the Brrr. If it doesn't go right, you still have a business established. You still have rent checks coming in, and you still have a property that's not bad. I mean, it's not going to be a catastrophe, right?
No.
We're not going to be way off. It's not going to. I'm not going to tell you it's going to price for 150 and it prices for 100.
Yeah,
we're talking a few thousand.
You're in the rough. You're not in the woods.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
We'll never be in the woods and unable to get out, from a golf term ever. All right, it'd be a little harder second shot maybe, but it's not in the woods now. If we come in and we buy these occupied and cash flowing, I feel like it's a little safer. But if you've got that energy and you've got that desire to start off with it, go. Now, when I ask you the question, what are some of the parts of the Brrr that don't go well? I might have just mentioned them all.
Yeah. But that's great because I was like, first I was like the ARV, the after repair value, the appraisal. Yeah. Like, hey, what's going to happen there?
Yeah.
You want to know your comps, but you can get those from a good agent working with an appraiser to find that. When you're purchasing, because you got to purchase it right to know your rehab. You got to have a good estimate on the rehab. You got to have a contractor who knows what they're doing. Good market rent so that you're renting it for the right price, getting it rented in a timely manner such that you'll be able to take it and refinance it with the bank. And having a great bank partner.
That's to me the biggest.
Having the bank partner being able to turn around and repurchase it with some type of funding, whether that's your own cash, a line of credit, hard money, or like you mentioned, some kind of officer guidance line at a bank, to then turn around and refinance it, which is most typically with a long-term lender like a local community bank or a national kind of lender of some sort, whether it's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac kind of loan, or these long-term Wall Street kind of niche lenders who are doing long-term rental properties.
So let's go through real quick the Brrrs when I think of things that can go wrong. So we told you to buy it. Typically never goes wrong there.
No, we know what the purchase price is. Yeah.
I can get the price right. And when we go through that process with our team of buying it, it's seamless. We do,
And you're a buyer, so you determine whether you want to pay that price or not. You can always say this is the price I'm going at. We talked about escalation clauses.
Yes.
Just set your price and don't go above it.
Set your price and don't go above it. So when
having an inspection contingency
to
which
get
is
yourself
get in
out.
there.
So buying that almost always goes right.
Yep.
Rehab. Now here's where it can go wrong. You have to make sure you have a trusted contractor.
Yep.
The two that we provide here are fabulous.
Yeah. And you're doing a scope.
You're getting all of the information
you're doing that
up front.
before you even purchase the property.
Yeah. So getting that done, approving that, hiring the contractor, that is a key part. So that can go wrong there. If you don't go through us, I have a lot less control over that. If you hire your own contractor, you need to understand and have that relationship with that contractor because
there are stories.
There are horror stories of handing somebody a lot of money to do a rehab. Partial rehab gets done, no rehab gets done, and they're
how
gone.
How many times do you see posts that start with, "I'm looking for a cheap contractor"?
100 times.
Yeah.
That's not the route to take.
It's not
I'm
the route
just
to
here to
take.
tell you.
It's not the route to take.
I don't, the cheapest one doesn't work. So
No.
that's a whole show in itself.
Yeah.
So the rehab part, things can go wrong there. You have to
Yeah.
make sure you have a trusted source. Then it's buy, rehab, rent. Okay. You got to find the right market to buy in, because although Debbie's a great leasing agent here, I think she's one of the best in the city.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't buy it in the right area, and you buy it in a wrong place, or you do the wrong rehab or not enough rehab or whatever, that rent part's going to be tough. You thought you could get 900. Oh man, you skimmed out on some of the rehab. We can get 8.
Yep.
Like, that's not doomsday, but that's not the numbers you were banking on. So make sure that when you're going to rent, you're buying in that right area with your right resource. Refinance.
Yeah.
Okay. Got to have a good banking partner. Got a good, we've done banking shows and provided bankers here. That part of it, to me, never goes wrong, typically.
Not if you've set yourself up with the right partner.
So the
Strategic
client
partner.
is typically, most of my clients, you guys are listening, they're wealthy in their own right. They're successful in their own business.
Yeah.
They know if they can go get a loan or not, right? I very rarely get hey, he didn't qualify for the loan. She didn't qualify for the loan. I just don't. So the buying and the refinance part are pretty seamless.
Yep.
Okay. So now we've refinanced it and we want to repeat it, and that's easy. So
Yeah.
3 out of the 5 are almost seamless.
Yes.
Okay. The construction part and the leasing part
Yes.
is where any investor can get hung up.
Yep.
Okay. We have worked tirelessly in the brokerage to provide solid contractors.
Yes.
It has taken me a couple years
Yeah,
to find
years and
the
years.
consistently
Yeah.
the right one.
Right.
I feel more confident now than I ever have with that
Awesome.
process. The leasing part of it, I don't have any reason at all to feel that we aren't bestly covered. Every
Yeah.
time that I go to leasing here, hey, what do you think we can get? I get a quote and we get it.
Right.
There's no
Yeah.
overshooting. There's no, let's promise you the
I mean,
moon.
this is what they're doing all day, every day.
They're doing it all day, every day.
for many years.
For many, many, many years. Yeah,
Yeah,
Debbie's
so,
done this many
yeah.
years. So those are the parts to kind of watch out for. When I ask,
Yeah,
what can go wrong? I think of those 5, number
Nice.
2 and number 3 are the toughest, and the ones that could. 1, 4, and 5 are super simple.
You can do things to prevent yourself from
can
having
do-
trouble in those areas. I agree with that.
So those are some of the hardest parts of it. But let's talk about pitfalls. I guess that's kind of the same thing that to go in with what's the hardest part of it. You want to walk through a hypothetical one? I mean,
Yeah.
if we buy, I guess in future, we can just talk here. This is our podcast. I guess in the future, we could get us a little board up here. We've actually talked about a little bit about that. I think maybe phase 2 of our podcast here later this year, we'll get us a board to put up and we can click through some of this. But $100,000 purchase, let's say you're in Bartlett, $100,000 purchase. We need $25,000 in rehab. We're going to need that house to appraise for 160 or so, 165, I believe. So we're going to line you up. We write the contract. We get it to the source and lock it up. At that point, we're going to give you 2 contractor contact info, Odyssey Construction, and we'll use Jim and his company. So those 2 guys are really good.
Yep.
Okay. You'll get your quote and get your bid from them. If the numbers still match up, we'll come back in and collect together and talk about the price versus the rehab, and does this still make sense?
Right.
Okay. That's how we'll reconnect on that.
Yep.
Once we go through that process, it'll come we start the construction. You get finished with the construction. You have your third party verify, whether it's your property management or you have someone else that wants to come look. I want to get this out. You don't want me to go verify everything.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Well, you know what you're doing.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's like, plus I provided you the house and the
Yeah. I
contractor.
mean, you're going to say it looks great.
What else am I going to say? Like, I'm going to call the contractor before I were to call you and say, hey, fix it. You need if you want a true definition of what's going on or a true indication of what's going on, you need a third party. Property manager is typically the one.
Yep.
Because they're going to take the house anyway. So to me, it's, hey, why don't you have your property
And
manager go?
they want it buttoned up before they take it.
They have to have it buttoned up
they
before
don't want
take
to
it.
inherit headaches day one.
No. And we do give our contractors the property management checklist. So like smoke detectors and fire extinguishers and things. You don't want to get hit with another $1,000 bill.
Yep.
So we include those things all on the front end. So now you've got that third party checkout, property checks. Now we go and turn it over to management and they get it occupied.
They get it occupied.
Now you got it occupied and you go to your bank and you refinance that and repeat it. So it's going step by step. We say it's simple.
It's sequential. chronological. You can work on those steps.
Yeah.
You know what the process is. So getting your money lined up,
Yes, is the biggest.
on the front and back. Like, how are you going to buy this property? We've talked about this before. I mean, it goes back to, are you a cash buyer? You want to be a cash buyer. So what does that mean?
Yes.
Do you have cash? Do you have some type of line of credit? Do you have some type of relationship, even with the hard money lender, where they're going to be able to come in and you're not going to be contingent upon that? So that's a goal for 2022 for folks who don't have an easy access to that funds. But getting that money lined up to buy that deal and calculating that ARV with that
is the biggest. I don't, we've talked about this and breezed through this in 25 minutes, but to me, it's simple, right?
Yeah.
But I do think it needs a little bit more attention than just buying a home in Memphis and sticking it with property management and being done with it, right? I mean, I just don't.
Oh, yeah.
I think
it's simple, but it's not easy.
It's not easy. There you go. That's a great way to explain it.
So yeah, it's a simple process. It's just not easy. You got to tend to it. It's kind of like we talked about a few weeks ago. That there's no such thing as a passive investment. It's just less active. So you're just less active. You're leveraging other people's time and you're paying them for that. And you're trying to make leverage your dollars.
Isn't that the truth though? I'm just saying that over and over again. There's not a passive investment.
Again, I think that's the headline is there's no such thing as passive investment. That's the sizzle. Because people are lying to you if they tell you it's a passive investment. You've got to be active and watch it. Even if you're getting treasury money, some type of bond from the federal government coming in, you got to go, ooh, what's my inflation rate? What are my other options? The opportunity cost on this. It's like you got to be alert and paying attention. Yeah. So that's all this is. It's just being alert and paying attention.
Now, the last thing I mentioned was, we can refer you. I'm not going to go through these on here today. I've got a vendor partner sheet that I send out to all of our clients. If you want me to send that to you, I'm happy to do it. It's not something where you're obligated to use any of these people. So, I mean, like if you want to complete the Brrr and use your own construction company, that's fine. Any part of it that you want to use, we're completely fine with it. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that when I refer it out, if I refer a company here in town, it's because I use them in my rental business. Yes. It's something that I tell every client that I have, from the contractors to the insurance companies,
to the hard money, to the bank money,
property management. Some of those companies are in here and some of them are not. We just don't provide that service, but we've got property management, hard money right here. Both of those companies I use over and over and over again for everything that I'm doing. The contractors are not in-house, but those are people that are running their own business that I have relationships with, to where if something's not going right, I can help you with that, which to me is the biggest kind of plus that I can provide that client is, hey, I'm 2,000 miles away. I can't get, Mr. Contractor A on the phone. Can you help? Yes. The answer is yes. If it's your person, I can call, but I'm just you doing the same thing. So
you can't do anything if you don't.
That's
have
the
a
biggest thing with
relationship
property management too, and I'll mention that.
Yeah,
that's the biggest one of those is property management. You don't have to manage here, but I will tell you this: if you manage somewhere else, it makes it more difficult for me to find out what's going on. With property management, there's so many moving parts. I'd be lying to you if I told you here that there's never going to be something that comes up that you're going to say, hey, what's this about? What's going on here? I need some help with this. And it's something that if we're managing here, I can control that or the speed of that.
Yeah. And I was going to say, in life, problems happen. It's how those problems are handled. Yes. And all you're saying is that, hey, when problems arise, challenges, issues, whatever, you're here to help. It's a lot harder if you don't have a relationship with somebody else.
Yeah, because I can get up and walk down the hall and find out what's going on and get right back to you. So there is a little bit of an advantage with some of that. So that's kind of my only caveat with some of this is that you're not out, this isn't a one-stop shop. You have to use everybody I'm giving you here. No. You don't. I just think as your agent and representative, I'm providing the property and all the tools that you can do to use it. Once you're investing here, you can probably learn and figure out some others if you choose to. But that's pretty much it. I love the strategy. I don't, there's not a whole lot of deep dive into it. No.
It's simple. We say it's simple. I've done it. I mean, it's the very first deal I ever bought. Yeah. I had set up a line of credit. Yeah. I purchased the house, did a little rehab, got it rented, went and got a long-term loan on that property, paid back my line of credit. and was ready for deal number 2.
Yeah. And that's what I love about it. Because if your deal number 1 is a conventional, and we'll go, if $25,000 down on a $100,000 house, that's awesome. How many $25,000 pops can you do? Some of you guys can do more than others.
Right. That's right.
And I know that.
And you always see the people when they do those, whether they buy a turnkey or whether they do a conventional deal, how many people have you had that have done that first?
Yeah.
And then come to you and said, I'd like to do a Brrr.
I cannot tell you how many times.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many turnkey buyers
That's what,
that have come to me and gone, okay, so that's what you
That's
meant.
what I'm saying is that
I've
people
never,
who've come.
I can't tell you. I mean, monthly, I get on a call with a guy. Yeah, I own a couple of turnkey properties. They're performing fine. Not the numbers I want. I'm interested in learning how to Brrr so I can capture some of that.
Yeah.
I get it all the time.
100%. I believe it.
And I think you didn't make a drastic mistake by buying those.
No.
It's just not, you're just figuring out that you can buy it and get to the end result differently and in a better position, right?
Yeah.
You can get to that house that's got the new roof and new everything on it. You can get to that point for about 20 grand less or 15% less, whatever the price point might be. You just are in that property for less. And, I try to take that headache out of it. I try to, by using our contractors and using property management and using the stuff here, I can essentially handle all of the aspects for you while you're in California working your regular job.
Yep.
So those are some of the advantages of coming through the brokerage. But I love this topic. I love the Brrr strategy. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, I would say the Brrr strategy is a timeless strategy. Again, it is the fix and flip strategy. It's the value add strategy. It's the Brrr method, whatever you want to call it. It is not going away because it goes back to economics 101, which is entrepreneurial profit, entrepreneur putting all the resources together and capturing that. So if that interests you, if real estate and entrepreneurship and doing long-term buy and hold, this is where those all meet. And I think it's awesome. It's so fun to do that and to kind of be, your own little puppet master, building your own little empire, kind of controlling your own destiny, running your own business. I mean, you're doing all of those things with the Brrr method.
You are. Just remember to trust and verify.
Trust but verify. Absolutely.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. The Brrr strategy, again, is one of our favorites. We're going to have it posted later today, I believe. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email, dean@crestcore.com. I'll be happy to answer, set up a call with you and talk about the Brrr. Anything else, you're good?
We're good.
All right, guys. See you in 2 weeks. We really appreciate it.
Yep.